wing in India and create a sort of women's module here in India, likely to be in contact with Pakistani handlers. We don't yet know why or how. Or ammunition and weapons were recovered from her Maruti Suzuki Swift vehicle as well. The Jaish-e-Mohammed's Pakistan women's wing is headed by Maulana Masood Azhar's sister Sadia, as we just pointed out. General Hassan, I want to come back to you on this. From the broader challenge that we're talking about as far as white-collar terror is concerned, multiple doctors who've been arrested. This woman, appeared to be hiding in plain sight. A doctor, B, a woman, C, living a pretty visibly ordinary life. It must have been very difficult for the intelligence agencies to crack this kind of thing. And from what we know so far, she was directly possibly in touch with the JEM in Pakistan, trying to create a kind of women's Jaish-e-Mohammed module here in India. General Hasnain, your view on that?
Yes, absolutely. When it comes to the involvement of women, we've not had too much of this in Jammu and Kashmir as such. And this is not really a surprise because at some stage or the other, women would have got involved. And their finger of suspicion is often not sort of pointed towards women in most of these cases. And they are the ones who can sort of function under the radar for fairly long. It is men who, you have arrest one and you can probably break a complete network. But women is much more difficult to focus upon them. The second aspect that I will definitely like to comment upon, Shiv, is the fact that we do not have a history of suicide bombing in Kashmir. We have had just about 4 or maximum 5 suicide bombings, the last being Pulwama, right? To my mind, even this fact that Dr. Umar got blown up in this car that day, it seems improbable that he was attempting to try and blow himself up with the car. Probably he was going somewhere to plant these IEDs, etc. And to my mind, my speculation only is that he seems to be some kind of a YouTube bomber who has learned how to put together bombs through the YouTube route. And probably is not a complete professional. This has become difficult of late because there aren't too many bomb handlers in Jammu and Kashmir at the moment. That I'm sure the intelligence agencies know. And we have been speculating on this for a long time. So much of this thing is happening online. Education online, directions online, recce online, and things like that. And invariably in these kind of cases, these issues remain at risk. A risk of getting revealed very soon, or risk of not being professional enough. We are fortunate that such circumstances existed.
Abhijit, Dr. Shaheen recruited to create a Jaish women's module in India. Nothing of this kind has ever, at least as far as I know, been attempted before. What do you think? Do you think she would have been successful in already creating some part of this module?
I'm not surprised at all. Because, you find a lot of women suicide bombers in West Asia. You find a lot of women terrorists in West Asia. And, it's a matter of time. This Six Sigma program where everything is coordinated in corporate governance. Terrorists also have the Six Sigma. There's online learning modules and things like that. ISIS used to be very famous for self-radicalization. The second thing we should never be surprised about is that terrorists end up being, if you actually look at the history of terrorists, many of them end up being extremely qualified, white-collar, high-income professionals because they have a much greater exposure, much more leisure time to get radicalized and things like that. If you remember the Sri Lanka bombings, they were carried out by one of the richest families in Sri Lanka. So I'm not surprised about this. I am not even surprised that they are using a minority university to mask, because this is the place where you would go to radicalize young minds and create your network and things like that, right? This all fits into the modus operandi we've seen. But General Saab is right. It is the first time we've seen this, to my knowledge. It is the first time we are seeing this in India. The problem now, of course, is this is going to inconvenience a lot of people because women were generally kept out of these things as a rule. that is no longer going to be the case. But understand how this is going to work. This is actually going to feed the narrative. You've already
Yeah.
seen a whole bunch of the usual suspects on Twitter, saying, "Oh, this is the time for peace. It's the system that went wrong, etc., etc." The next time women get picked up, they're going to say, "Oh, what was it? School headmaster's son, was it?
Yes, that's right.
A wife of oncologist or something like that will be the new thing," and it feeds more radicalization narratives.
No, you're right. And, the one strand of the investigation is going into whether this Jaish women's module has actually taken root in any form whatsoever, because Dr. Shaheen is the only woman who's been arrested in this conspiracy so far. Before I go back to General Hasnain and Abhijit, we've got some breaking news coming in from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir now. After the Delhi blast, a significant meeting of the Lashkar-e-Taiba has just taken place apparently in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. These are images that are just coming in. It's related. That's why I'm telling our viewers this. Lashkar terrorists were seen being welcomed by local politicians with flowers. This is in Kotli in POK. A key meeting held between Lashkar-e-Taiba leaders Abdul Rauf and Rizwan Hanif, deputy chiefs of the Lashkar-e-Taiba's POK unit, serves as a main link between the Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists. Just a reminder once again that these are linkages of terrorists being welcomed, normalized in POK by the Pakistani state, and that continues as normal. Just a reminder as the Pakistan link becomes very, very visible in the Delhi blast, because after all, it was the Jaish-e-Mohammed that conducted it. Here is business as usual as far as terrorism is concerned in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Now I want to come back to 10/11 Delhi, the Delhi blast, because this is my third angle tonight, and that is the link with Turkey. Now, in the 26/11 attack, the handlers were sitting in Pakistan. We've even had phone taps of that. This time, NDTV's crime team, following the story, learns that the conspirators had traveled to Turkey, where they had received instructions from unknown handlers. Umar, who was the bomber in the car, and Irfan, who was let's just go back to the earlier slide for a moment. Irfan, who was the imam, considered to be the mastermind, locally speaking, for this Jaish module, they had traveled to Turkey to meet with a Jaish-e-Mohammed handler. Now, that Jaish-e-Mohammed handler was presumably in Pakistan. Maybe they met in Turkey in order to not call attention to any suspicious activity within Pakistan, because international agencies are watching Pakistan, but they actually traveled to Turkey. Now, Turkey is a country that has not ever been India's friend when it comes to the war against terror. The Faridabad module became active after Umar and Irfan actually went to Turkey. So now let me tell you about Turkey's history as far as India's war on terror is concerned. And this will tell you why Turkey has never really been a benevolent partner or even a diplomatic friend as far as this is concerned. I'm asking a question that a lot of people might find controversial, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is Turkey a new fountainhead of terror? India and Turkey have diplomatic relations, but it has supported terror groups in the Middle East. They've got a leader who is a person who has spoken out in support of the Pakistani deep state. They support the Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. This is a country that is one of 3 countries to support Pakistan after the Pahalgam terror attack. They did not condemn them. President Erdogan didn't condemn the Pahalgam terror attack personally or through his government. We all saw that in Operation Sindoor, Turkey not only provided arms and ammunition and drones to Pakistan, but provided human technical support on the ground during Operation Sindoor as well. Pakistan used Turkey-made drones to target India, and some of their technicians were even killed in India's attacks on various bases. They've supplied multiple drones to Pakistan, like the Bayraktar TB2 and the Akinci drones to Pakistan. So the Turkey link is very, very clear. Okay, let's go back to our guest now. General Hasnain, the conspirators traveling to Turkey to meet with a potential handler. We don't know if the handler, was someone who traveled from Pakistan or elsewhere. That detail is not there yet, and I don't want to report something we are not very clear of. But the fact that they traveled to Turkey, Umar, the main bomber and a person considered to be the mastermind, what do you make of that, sir?
See, Shiv, you go back to 2611 and you remember that that was not the period of WhatsApp. That was the period when you was working on satellite communication most of the time. Most of the conversations which took place in the control from Pakistan were on satellite communication. Today, the world has transformed completely as far as communications are concerned. You can sit in the United States, you can sit in Alaska and control this kind of a thing. So obviously, they have gone to a friendly environment. Perhaps what I can speculate is that they've probably gone to a friendly environment. If I were to do an intelligence analysis of this whole situation and see which is the ideal place to go to, I would also perhaps target home on to Turkey. The Middle East is India friendly. Most of Middle East is India friendly. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, anywhere you go, you got a huge Indian presence there. You have a diaspora present there. We have had many of our people, criminals, etc., who have been, brought back from there successfully. So Turkey is not a country with which we've had that kind of a relationship. So when it comes to these inputs, and if they are entirely reliable, I would definitely go along with them and say they have chosen perhaps the right place from where to operate, because that's the nerve center from where actually a very anti-India kind of a narrative builds up. But this is all at the moment based upon the inputs that you're giving me. I don't know how far these inputs have been verified so far.
Yeah. No, I take your point very, very clearly. Abhijit, is, assuming this information is by and large correct and the record that I've just spelled out, is Turkey in some ways, safe ground for anti-India elements and terrorists potentially?
It's actually been for quite some time. If you look over the last 10 years, Turkey kind of became the sugar daddy for Pakistan's terrorism industry. You saw all the, not all, but a lot of children of terrorist leaders or All-Party Hurriyat Conference leaders. They used to get these scholarships to go study in Turkey. You find a huge number of these radicalization modules on Twitter where, Kashmiri students still are Kashmiri students who surprisingly, for some reason, rock up in Turkey. You've had people, too many people, in fact, who have been arrested under UAPA and other provisions, who, go to Turkey very often. You've also had, of late, much more ramping up. The Turks had toned down. They'd always been very close to Pakistan. In fact, they were the ones who helped Pakistan get over the F-16 shortage when the Presler Amendment sanctions had come on their F-16s. It was Turkish aerospace industries that helped them. But they had toned down their rhetoric in between. Under Erdogan, it has ramped up massively. And let's not remember, a lot of these, relatives, either the children or grandchildren of the All-Party Hurriyat Conference people, are employed by TRT, Turkish Radio TV, which is freely allowed to stream in India. You look at their program and content, it has consistently been hostile. You also remember, of course, that we got Chelebi, which was the aviation services company, kicked out during Operation Sindoor. We had seen exactly how they behaved during Operation Sindoor. They've clearly crossed a red line out here. I refuse to believe that people who knew what the Saudi embassy did to that Khashoggi gentleman didn't know that this kind of a meeting was happening, because their counterintelligence is very good.
Yeah. Is there, diplomatically speaking, Abhijit, very quick final word on, as far as Turkey is concerned, do you think this is going to lead to something between India and that country? Earlier in 2611, it was India and Pakistan, which is an ongoing issue. Would this lead to anything?
No, because I don't think we can prove. We can prove that the meeting happened. We can't prove Turkish knowledge of the meeting happening.
Yeah.
And they would basically say, well, you haven't designated these people terrorists. So, anybody's free to come to Turkey and meet anyone. Why should we have, stop people from coming?
Story in motion, like I said, new details have emerged even while we've been doing this broadcast, but that's how it is, 48 hours after the Delhi attack. General Hasnain and Abhijit, a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time and being with me tonight on this big story here on NDTV. On the other side, a story that I promised I would put on the table here on the show. Al-Falah University in Faridabad, part of Delhi, the Delhi NCR region, is where these terrorists came from. Should it be shut down? Is it really a terrorist den? I debate that on the other side of this break. Come right back.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand. Motorola Edge 60 Pro. Grab Motorola Edge 60 Pro today.
Election season is here again. The battle for Bihar begins.
नीतीश जी का बिहार चलाने योग्य नहीं।
बिहार जैसे राज्य में इतना भरोसा लोगों ने किया।
India's #1 network locked and loaded. The OG of election reporting.
ये सवाल पूछे जाते हैं कि फलाना जाति की क्या आबादी है। सरकार के पास जरूर ये आंकड़े होने चाहिए।
Elections in our DNA. In the heart of every voter.
वोट चोरी मुद्दा है भी और नहीं भी है।
NDTV 24/7, India's election engine.
The most coveted invitation in the Indian corporate golf calendar, where top corporates go head-to-head with the finest professional golfers. An exclusive circuit across multiple cities. Aspirational, unforgettable. NDTV Golf Pro-Am, India's #1 golf Pro-Am, is here. The course of champions, the conversation of leaders. NDTV Golf Pro-Am, coming soon. Stay tuned.
Front lines of Kargil, the fury of Operation Sindhu,
So many attacks.
the chaos.
At the heart of the Delhi terror attack 10/11 is a quiet, unassuming, innocuous-looking university in the Delhi National Capital Region, just about 30 kilometers from where I'm standing. You've obviously heard the name of it already. It's called the Al-Falah University in a place called Faridabad, which is a Delhi suburb in Haryana. That's where all of the Delhi terrorist conspirators belong. That's where they were medical doctors, but that's where they worked. The Al-Falah University in Faridabad. The question we're asking today, is it a terrorist den? Is it a safe haven for terrorists? Is it a terrorist net? It was set up in 2014 by something called the Falah Trust. It has been recognized by the university's Grants Commission since 2015. It has engineering and medical courses and a 70-acre campus in a small village called Dhauj in Faridabad. And has more than 700 students. It houses about 650-bed charitable hospital as well. So it is a large facility there. Now, 3 terror doctors, one of them dead in the bombing itself in which he was driving the car, and 2 doctors, including Dr. Shaheen and Dr. Muzammil, worked there. They were employed by this university. Dr. Umar is the one who blew himself up in the car. Could have been accidental, we don't know that. Dr. Muzammil, that's the guy there. It was from his location that 2,900 kilograms of explosives were actually seized. And Dr. Shaheen, I've already told you about, ammunition and rifles were seized from her vehicle. How did the university turn into what some people are calling a Jaish-e-Mohammed den? How could activities of this kind literally happen on their campus? Now, the university itself, now the Delhi bomber taught at this university. Dr. Umar, who blew up the I-20 car, literally taught in the Al-Falah University. Dr. Muzammil also taught at the university. That's where all the explosives were found. And Dr. Shaheen was recruiting women for a women's wing through indoctrination at the Al-Falah University. These are the three doctors. There's also someone called Dr. Nisar Hassan, a professor who was sacked in 2023 by the Jammu and Kashmir administration for alleged terror links. He was hired by the Al-Falah University. There was a Maulvi who lived on the Al-Falah campus who has also been arrested for radicalizing staff on campus. Its accreditation lapsed 5 years ago, but its website still says that there is accreditation there. So the question now is, Al-Falah University, which has been functioning for over a decade right now, is it a terrorist safe haven? They've put out a statement saying that they had nothing to do with these people's terror-related work. They only are related to them in an official capacity. So the question now is, should Al-Falah University be shut down as a result of what has been uncovered? And how many more Al-Falah universities are out there with little terror cells functioning undetected on their campus and pretty much in the atmosphere where learning is supposed to happen? Joining me live now, Swati Chaturvedi, very popular columnist, commentator, senior journalist, and we also have Dr. Akriti Bhatia, who's a sociologist and an ex-assistant professor at Delhi University's Miranda House College. Thank you very much to the both of you for joining me. Swati, I want to come to you first because I know you've posted on social media asking why Al-Falah University hasn't simply been shut down. Tell us why you think so.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Shiv. And first of all, I'm very, very happy that you're keeping the focus on this awful terror blast, despite every other channel, focusing on exit polls, etc. We need to keep the focus on, because otherwise nobody's going to get justice for the kind of terror attacks we see now almost every 6 months. Now, what I said was very provocative. It was deliberately provocative, Shiv, because, what sort of university is this where you have terror teachers, number one, and number two, if you look at the details of this university, they were supposed to originally be set up to, help the Mewat, the Muslims in Mewat who are very backward, the Meo Muslims, as a sort of kind of a locus to give them education, to kind of provide much needed education to the Meo Muslims. Now look at the pattern of the people who are studying here. Why is nobody monitoring all this? Why is this university set up in Haryana ostensibly to help the Mewat, the backward Muslims of Mewat, suddenly such a den of people from Jammu and Kashmir? It's almost like, we are deliberately not asking the questions. Why should teachers, lecturers who've been sacked for sedition? That teacher was actually sacked by Jammu and Kashmir for being a terror supporter and for sedition, of a very tough section of the law. He is finding employment here. What kind of vetting are they doing? And what really is going on? Why is none of this being monitored? And then tell me, if 13 people have died, why is this university still standing? Why is it open? Why are we so soft on terror?
Akriti Bhatia, do you agree with what Swati Chaturvedi says, that there is no explaining something like this happened, because the university says, we had nothing to do with this, we don't know what these professors were doing, we only know that they are here on academic work. How can they wash this off?
Thank you so much for having me and for raising this very critical debate issue. And it's definitely very condemnable that such a ghastly attack has happened, and the links have been found with an educational hub. And I am not denying that campuses cannot become hotbeds of ideological dissemination. But in this scenario, we really need to probe much deeper and find whether the management and whether the topmost founders of the university, whether we can actually implicate the entire university as an institution if there's an alleged involvement of students or staff in criminal acts. So this cannot automatically implicate the entire university and the system as faulty. So and therefore there are lapses, which is very clear, and it's something that needs very rigorous kind of investigation. There should be background checks, and the university heads have said that they are open to all kinds of and they are going to cooperate with all kinds of investigation. So I think this whole idea that we need to close the university is something which is an extreme step, because closing universities won't solve the problem. It could be a counter.
I take your point, Akriti Bhatia, but I would submit that 2,900 kilograms of ammonium nitrate, an explosive material, a professor sacked for terror links being then employed by this university, at least 3 terrorists being on your payrolls, being directly linked to the Delhi blast, all paints a very sorry picture, if anything at all, if not, direct complicity in creating an atmosphere where something like this happens. Swati, you don't agree?
I totally agree with you, Shiv, because either if it's cupidity, either it's cupidity or it's stupidity. Clearly, this university has not got its act together. And by the way, we need to send a message. If 13 people die, and if something is the epicenter of terror, it is the hotbed of terror, where you have lecturers. No, we are not exactly talking about students here. We're talking about lecturers who are involved, doctors who are involved in actual terror incidents where they're blowing up innocent people. Why are we not sending a message that this is not, we are drawing a red line? If you are doing this kind of nonsense on your campus, any university, then I'm sorry, this is not going to happen. The problem is we never set examples. Our red lines are porous. They're always, getting redrawn. Why don't we send out a big message here saying that we are sorry that, what university is this? There's no vetting process where you're employing people who've been sacked for terror links, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of terror India is facing. We know. We are all aware of what we are living in. We've just had Pahalgam happen, and then you have a university sitting in Haryana, which is acting almost like a center for the Jaish in India. It is like Murid Ke. It is like Murid Ke in Haryana.
And, given the details, Akriti, and I take your point, I completely support that there needs to be a thorough investigation. But I disagree when you say that you can't tar the entire university with the same brush, and the leadership, everything needs to be checked, because the fact is this was an entire conspiracy that was practically hatched from that campus.
The leadership is terror tainted.
So it probably if these 3 people have been found, and this woman was recruiting, and the Maulvi was radicalizing people on the members of the staff, it's impossible that this could have been just stupidity on the leadership's part.
I totally agree, but at the institutional level, I still believe, Shiv, that we need to find some concrete, because it's true, there are also thousands of innocents whose academic operations will be halted. And I completely agree that nothing comes above national security, but we still need to, these are still alleged links with the university. These people have to be, and this Jammu and Kashmir governor, why was he not sent to jail? Why was he sent scot-free? It's a very severe kind of allegation if there are terror links. And of course, hiring such a person is equally very problematic, and it could be an oversight which has happened, and it's something that needs again due probe and punishment as well. But collectively punishing thousands of people from all faiths, and if you look at it's something that needs to be doubly checked, and then such a massive action. Also, if you look at some of the NIA and other kinds of links that were found with some very violent incidents, and also terror links with some professors in Delhi University have taken place, and there have been inquiries, they have been sent to bars as well, but the entire university premises were not shut. So this is if you find rats in a room, you do not burn the entire room. You target the rats and you kind of burn them, unless you find the room itself, generating something like that. And that is where we don't have proof yet, which should be very, very proactively done.
Okay.
And there are different ways to look at severe, rigorous auditing, transparent auditing of records, background checks, ensuring also with the kind of
But that is exactly what appears to have not happened at all at Al-Falah University. And Swati and Akriti, you'd be surprised, maybe not so surprised to know that I spent, a month and a half in Kashmir this year covering Operation Sindoor, and all the friends I made there in different places on this particular story of Al-Falah, they've been sending me messages since yesterday saying, you are a fool if you think Al-Falah is, just a one-off case. There are campuses across where these cells are breeding, and, the atmosphere and regulations are being made in such a way that these things can actually happen, and the leadership looks the other way. Swati, so Al-Falah is not a one-off case.
Just shutting all those campuses or something much more in terms of,
surprised. I agree with Akriti when she says a bigger solution is necessary. But yes,
and
Swati.
Also the question of radicalization of educated youth, that itself is also something.
No, I want to make the point what Dr. Gupta said, that the Delhi University professor were caught with terror links. They weren't actually caught carrying out terror incidents. There is a difference. If you say there's a conspiracy, there are, people examine the roles of the conspirators. Here, this is not a conspiracy. This man was a terrorist. He died killing 13 people. This woman and these other people, they are not some vague conspirators who are supporting, some vague idea.
He was doing
these people were actually involved in a terror act. We need to send a message that this university, which has a shambolic vetting system, which has a shambles leadership. In what leadership? Why should this leadership not be punished? They are aiding and abetting terrorists. So why shouldn't they pay a price? Why shouldn't this terror factory be shut down as an example?
There are so many private universities that are just, I being in the academic space, I know of the kind of irregularities, how plagiarism, it's just very small things go unnoticed. And this is such that's what I'm saying, that, if it's happening in other campuses as well,
people have died,
then we really need to have some ways of and mechanisms of really very strong oversight. That is very important. And I still feel that without and the moment we get any links with the top management, I think it should be this act.
The spotlight.
This is the first thing that needs to be done.
The spotlight is going to remain on Al-Falah. I want to ask all of our viewers to also watch NDTV tonight through prime time at 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. We've got a live report from outside the Al-Falah University. On NDTV, we are very fair. We don't call for any victimization of any kind. But we're going to be speaking to students and teachers of Al-Falah and see what they think as well. Don't forget to tune into that. Swati and Akriti, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for being with me here tonight on NDTV. It's our #1 story by far. Thanks for watching. The news continues on the other side of this very short break. The buck stops here with Padmaja's next.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand. Motorola Edge 60 Pro. Grab Motorola Edge 60 Pro today.
In Bihar, bahut politics hai. The year's election super final. Can Jai Veeru storm the palace? Or will Bihar double engine defend? Fierce fight, electric election. Biggest team, biggest coverage. Battleground Bihar on NDTV 24/7.
मजे को दुगुना करना है, मजे को 3 गुना करना है। गाजी, रोहन, कमाल से।
When it comes to elections, I am a journalist, analyst, commentator, and an advisor.
My point of view is not for the faint-hearted.
Nothing escapes my eyes. Not the leaders, not their agendas, not even the real game of elections.
I've been covering Indian politics long enough to know that Bihar isn't just another election.
हम सबको खबर देते हैं, हम सबकी खबर लेते हैं, चुनावों की भी, दावों की भी। बिहार की सोच, बिहार का फैसला।
पत्रकारिता का जो पहलू दिखता नहीं, वो हम दिखाते हैं।
I'll be joining NDTV's expert panel to go beyond the rhetoric and to tell you what the Bihar election really means.
Watch me cover the Bihar battleground on NDTV 24/7.
Across the country. He has tracked the pulse of power from Washington to Korea. Witnessed history being made in global capitals and conflict zones. Brought clarity to complex issues of national security and international affairs. And now, Aditya Raj Kaul begins a new chapter at NDTV.
Actually, I'm taking off because the stories I cover don't sit still. To bring the world to India and to take India to the world, I need to be where action is.
Aditya Raj Kaul, covering international affairs like no one else, only on NDTV network.
When it comes to elections, I am a journalist, analyst, commentator, and an advisor.
My point of view is not for the faint-hearted.
Nothing escapes my eyes. Not the leaders, not their agendas, not even the real game.
Good evening and welcome. Thanks very much for tuning in to NDTV 24/7. I'm Padmaja Joshi, and on every issue that matters, and especially when it's about elections, the buck stops here. All eyes now are on the exit polls and whether they will be any closer to the results that we'll finally get on the 14th of November. Less than 36 hours from now, the numbers will start trickling in. But what is the big message that we are getting from this exit polls? One thing is absolutely clear. The margins may differ, the ranges may differ, but the NDA government, according to all the exit polls that we have seen so far, is going to make a comeback. That, I think, is the overwhelming message. Whether it's by a whisker or it's going to be a sweep, whether it's going to be a tsunami or it's going to be tight, that is up for interpretation depending on the data that you see from individual polls. But Nitish Kumar is standing to be the biggest gainer. Tejasvi Yadav perhaps weighed down by his alliances. The BJP just skating along, and in case of at least a couple of polls, receding just a little bit. So let's get straight to the chase and get you the numbers at the top. But before that, a quick introduction of all the guests who are going to be joining us on this journey today to slice and dice and dissect all the numbers. We've got JeM, apologist, joining us in the Noida studio. We also have Shehzad Poonawala, spokesperson of the BJP. Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst, also here with me. Professor Badri Narayan, political commentator and author. Amitabh Tiwari, founder of the Vote Vibe. And Kanchana Yadav, spokesperson of the RJD. So the numbers, as promised, here coming up on your screens, and we are going to start with the numbers of Axis My India, two of the latest polls that have come out today. What is the seat share that Axis My India has given for the Bihar elections? Access My India says BJP is in the range of 50 to 56, JDU 56 to 62, LJP Ram Vilas Chirag Paswan's party in the range of 11 to 16. On the other hand, in the Mahagathbandhan, RJD is at 67 to 76, Congress at 17 to 12, VIP this time with the Mahagathbandhan at 3 to 5, and others are just about at 10 to 16. Now the vote shares, that's where the interesting story is. According to Access My India, BJP and JDU are exactly the same at 18% each. LJP Ram Vilas is at 5 and others are at 2. RJD, the largest vote share in this election at 24%, Congress at 10 and VIP at 2. Now let's take a look at the numbers that have been put up. No, we'll first take the numbers of vote vibe, the vote share and seat share of vote vibe. What are the kind of numbers that we have over there? When it comes to the vote share that Vote Vibe has given, NDA here has quite a gap in the vote share, almost of 4%. NDA gets 45.3%, Mahagathbandhan 41.9%, Jan Suraj 5.2%, others at 7.6%. What are the seats like according to Vote Vibe? Here they show the NDA quite comfortable, a median of about 135, whereas the Mahagathbandhan short of the majority at 105, others not really managing to do much. And finally, let's take a look at the numbers for today's Chanakya. In today's Chanakya, the numbers that they have given, the vote share and seat share pretty much mirror what we saw with Vote 5. NDA though has a 44% vote share, 3% increase, or plus minus 3%. Mahagathbandhan at 38% and others are at 18%. What is their seat projection like? The seat projection in the case of today's Chanakya. All right, so they've given a breakup of the various communities and they're trying to show which community has voted for whom. Brahmin, Banya, Rajput, maximum votes going there, along with non-Yadav OBCs, EBCs and SCs. We'll come to this in just a second, but just to look at the numbers, I want to open this up. First impressions, Shehzad Poonawala, you are past the finish mark according to these numbers, but according to Access My India, let's go back to the Access My India seat share numbers, party-wise breakup. According to those, you have actually slipped from last time around. The NDA, in the NDA, the JDU is the biggest gainer. So आप किसी को आप हटा नहीं सकते.
First of all, you see there are about 18 or 20 exit polls that I've been tracking since yesterday to today. And I would say that I agree with the direction of all the exit polls, but for the destination of the exit poll, we have to wait for the exact polls. So the destination, that means how many seats we will finally end up with, whether it's BJP, JDU or NDA combined, that will come out on 14th, which also happens to be Bal Divas. I hope nobody is throwing Bal Hut on Bal Divas. But said that, I agree with the general direction of the exit polls. It all shows that the NDA is forming the government comfortably. Most of them show that the MGB is not getting even 100 seats. And secondly, see, you have just now said, for instance, in this Access My India poll, that RJD has got maximum vote share. But they have contested 145 seats. The JDU and the BJP contested 100 seats, 101 seats each. So therefore, to make that comparison is not fair. Secondly, the takeaways that can be done from here is the follows. First of all, we had always said that we are going in with Nitish ji as the face. There was no doubt that Nitish ji will continue as the CM. Dharmendra Pradhan ji has said this. But the takeaways, after 20 years, Padmaja, and you see JeM, Badri ji, both are sitting here. Never before have we heard pro-incumbency. We have heard anti-incumbency. First time pro-incumbency for the 20-year incumbent.
No, we heard a lot of pro-incumbency from the BJP.
After Modi ji, after the era of Modi ji, when we are forming government in Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Haryana, Maharashtra, government after government. But pro-incumbency for Nitish and Modi and anti-incumbency for Mr. Tejaswi Yadav and Rahul Gandhi, point one. Point two, this is a clear-cut vote of SIM. You know what is SIM? Sushasan, integrity of Modi and Nitish, and Mahila Sashaktikarana against DIM. Dynasty, infighting and Katta Raj. People have said, खाते में पैसा चाहिए, कट्टे में गोली नहीं चाहिए. They have said, मैथिली ठाकुर चाहिए, ओसामा नहीं चाहिए. नीतीश मोदी चाहिए, लालू convicted नहीं चाहिए. Halloween की पूजा करने वाले नहीं चाहिए, छठी मैया का सम्मान करने वाले चाहिए. So these are the takeaways you can get immediately from this. And as far as when we are, in last 10 seconds, हमारे ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड को तो देखो पद्मजा जी, हमारी तो 2020 में ज़्यादा सीट थी, तब भी नीतीश जी को मुख्यमंत्री बनाया। एंड नीतीश जी कॉल्ड अप मोदी जी दैट सर यू हैव गॉट मोर सीट्स, यू शुड मेक द सीएम। वी सेड नहीं सर, कमिटमेंट हमारा है, हमने बोल दिया तो हम करेंगे और हमारा ये कमिटमेंट है। और इनके यहाँ पे आज तक तहसीन को पूछो, हाउ मेनी सीट्स कांग्रेस हैज कंटेस्टेड, हाउ मेनी सीट्स आरजेडी इज कंटेस्टिंग, हाउ मेनी सीट्स लेफ्ट हैव कंटेस्टेड। फ्रेंडली फाइट के नाम पर क्या क्या फाइट हो गया। एंड तहसीन हिमसेल्फ हैज सेड टुडे देयर इज अ टेक अवे वी मस्ट टेक. Should we not raise the right issues? Right opposition is needed. Whole day he was sitting on NDTV. I was seeing.
Will you? Oh, interesting. Bhai is watching Bhai on NDTV. At least we know that secretly Shehzad Poonawalla watches what Tehseen Poonawalla is saying on TV.
तो एक सेकंड आप ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंस देते हैं। मैं राहुल कंवल, पद्मजा और शिव अरूर को देख रहा था।
Interesting. Tehseen Poonawalla, you can celebrate the fact that Shehzad Poonawalla is watching you, but the direction is not very encouraging, not giving a lot of cause to celebrate, whatever the margins may be. But the fact still remains that all of them are saying the definite edge and a government forming edge is with the NDA.
Padmaja,
if after 20 years you can't kick out a government, then there's some serious issue there.
Padmaja, thank you so much for having me on the show. And you can call it the Nemo factor. Nitish and Modi. So you can call it the Nemo factor. Look, all these exit polls can't be wrong in a direction. You can argue on the numbers, but the direction. So now we have to reflect, if these exit polls hold true, and that's the assumption that we think they should be true, what is it that we as an opposition need to do? Because we need to be responsible. So 2 or 3 things. Are we going to now get back to blaming the EVM, blaming the government for blasts that happened, or be mature and look within? Why is it that since 2011 we've not won an election or repeated our government? That's first. Second thing, are we raising the right issues? Third, are we putting our points across in a mature way?
Are you?
No, so we got to reflect upon this. I mean,
I'm sure you would have had time to reflect. Are you raising the right issues?
Because
Pradeep Gupta
we are a very angry man.
Pradeep Gupta, who's done Access My India, seems to suggest that at least vote chori has had no resonance on the ground.
And again, the same people who claim to be data experts, one of them was on your show, he was very angry for some reason and he was making tweets, casting aspersions, whatever that he did, are the people who said Rafale is the right issue, are the people who said 2014 was a black swan, 2019 Narendra Modi won't return. So are we relying too much on these? So we have to look within. But most importantly, I think we should also look at it analytically. What the RJD managed to do is get its share of MY votes, the Muslims and the Yadavs, and that the data shows, whatever that percentage is. What were we expected to do? We should have got some percentage of the forward votes, some percentage of the Dalit votes, some percentage of the other equations, other OBC votes. Have we managed to do it? Where have we failed? I think we must honestly introspect, not be aggressive towards the media. I think that's the need of the hour.
You know, since you spoke about the caste breakup, I want to quickly show the numbers, different community-wise, and then go across to Amitabh Tiwari and Kanchana Yadav as well. The community and caste vote according to Access My India, and then we'll take a look at Vote Vibe as well. What is Access My India saying about the various caste groups and the communities? The NDA, it is quite clear, Kanchana Yadav, if you look at the numbers, Nitish Kumar and the BJP are getting the EBCs, they are getting the Dalits, they are getting the general caste, and they are getting the non-Yadav OBCs. Even in a poll that is showing that you have a closer contest, even there, it's only the Muslims and Yadavs who are sticking by you. Why is that? You made so many outreaches to the EBCs. In fact, तेजस्वी यादव said कि अब हम सबकी सरकार बनाएंगे, ये एक समावेशी सरकार होगी. You got Mukesh Sahni into the fold, but clearly the message is not going across. Why is that? ये समावेशी पार्टी की तरह आपको नहीं देखा जा रहा है, कंचना यादव.
पद्मजा जी, रेंज को देखिए, एक्सिस माई इंडिया की जो रेंज है उसको देखिए. उन्होंने जो रेंज दिया है आरजेडी के लिए, वो रेंज है जो पिछली बार हमारी सीटें थी वही. कांग्रेस के लिए जो पिछली बार हमारी सीटें थी वही, वीआईपी के लिए जो पिछली बार वीआईपी की सीटें एनडीए में थी वही, और लेफ्ट के लिए भी वही रेंज जो पिछली बार सीटें थी. और ये एनडीए का देखिए तो एनडीए में बीजेपी और जदयू को लगभग उन्होंने बराबर कर दिया. किसी का 56 से एंड होता है तो किसी का 56 से स्टार्ट होता है. सो इवन इन योर पैनल एवरीवन विल एग्री विथ मी लाइक दिस क्रेडिबिलिटी ऑफ पोल हैज टेकन ए सीरियस हिट. हर कोई इस पर एग्री करेगा कि किस तरीके से, और खासकर बिहार को लेकर 2010 हो तो
दो चीजें कंचना जी। एक तो पहली बात, दोनों पार्टियां पिछली बार के मुकाबले कम सीटों पर लड़ रही हैं। बीजेपी जेडीयू पिछली बार के मुकाबले कम सीटों पर लड़ रही है, तो ऑब्वियस सी बात है कि उनकी कम सीटें यहां दिखाई भी जाएंगी। उसमें उनके खाते से एलजेपी, रामविलास, उपेंद्र कुशवाहा, इन सबको भी तो सीटें गई है ना। क्रेडिबिलिटी इस रेंज से कैसे कम हुई, मुझे समझ में नहीं आया।
नहीं, आप हमारी सीटें देखिए ना, पिछली बार हमारी सीटें जितनी थी पद्मजा जी आरजेडी की, और जितनी कांग्रेस की थी, जितनी लेफ्ट की थी, जितनी वीआईपी की थी एनडीए में, वो वही रेंज दिखाया गया है। मतलब कुछ भी आगे पीछे नहीं। हाँ, 101 और 101 बीजेपी और जदयू बराबर सीटों पर लड़ी थी, इसलिए उनको बराबर नंबर दिखा दिया गया। तो मैं इस पे क्वेश्चन कर रही हूँ। खैर, वो तो 14 को रिजल्ट आएगा पद्मजा जी, फिर हम आपके साथ डिबेट करेंगे कि किसकी सरकार बन रही है। मनोरंजन के लिए 2 दिन के लिए ठीक है, अदरवाइज फिर किस बात पे डिबेट होगा आपके चैनल पे। 2 दिन हम लोग भी मनोरंजन कर रहे हैं, देख रहे हैं क्या हो रहा है। 14 को फिर हम बैठेंगे और देखेंगे कि किसकी सरकार बन रही है। यहाँ पर जो वोट परसेंटेज भी दिखाया है, खासकर माई इंडिया ने हमें टोटल जो दिखाया वो 24% कुछ अराउंड दिखाया है, और एमवाई समीकरण भी बताते हैं, और एमवाई समीकरण का तो वोट परसेंटेज भाई 32% है, तो आपने 24% कैसे दिखाया। बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन है जो मैं रेज कर सकती हूँ यहाँ पर, बट क्वेश्चन ये है कि ये जो सारे सर्वे आ रहे हैं कल से आज तक, मैं इसको मात्र एक तमाशा समझती हूँ। ठीक है, और हम सभी एक तमाशा समझते हैं।
ठीक है, फेयर इनफ, आपको अपना एक व्यू पॉइंट हो सकता है। बिफोर यू रिस्पॉन्ड, शहजादपुर।
सो सैड, मुझे लगा कि 14 के बाद राहुल को डंप करेंगे। राहुल जी ने बोला एग्जिट पोल इज वेरी गुड नाउ, जस्ट 2 days बिफोर। अब राहुल जी को 14 से पहले ही डंप कर दिया, पहली बात। दूसरी बात, ये रेंज नहीं स्ट्रेंज है। तेजस्वी को मोस्ट पॉपुलर सीएम फेस बताया, ओह दिस हैज कम, दिस इज द रिजल्ट, ये देख लो। और अब जो है नतीजे कुछ और दिखाए। नहीं, ये तो रेंज है, ये स्ट्रेंज है। अच्छा, थर्ड पॉइंट, मैडम मैंने आपके बीच में नहीं बोला। कंचना जी, मैंने आपके बीच में,
मैं आ रही हूँ आपके पास। कंचना यादव, मैं आ रही हूँ आपके पास।
थोड़ा सा देखिए, ताउम्र यही गलती करते रहे। दोष डेटा में नहीं, बेटा में था, ये डेटा को दोष देते रहे। इन दोनों का बेटा गलत है, एक वो नेशनल बेटा और एक बिहार का बेटा।
ओके, वेरी क्विकली रिस्पॉन्ड कंचना यादव, वेरी क्विकली रिस्पॉन्ड, देन आई विल गो टू जेम।
मैं भी शहजाद जी, मैं भी आपको 2 लाइन सुनाना चाहती हूँ कि नए किरदार आते जा रहे हैं, नाटक वही पुराना चल रहा है। तो
जी मैडम,
इंडिया हो, ये जो तमाम सर्वे है कल से आ रहे हैं ना, नाटक वही पुराना चल रहा है, नए किरदार बस आते जा रहे हैं। और देखिएगा,
यू नो द इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग इज कंचना यादव दैट actually Axis My India has shown a lesser strike rate for the BJP this time around. If you were to look at the numbers very closely, last time it had a greater strike rate and had got 74 seats. This time they are contesting 101 seats and have been shown to be getting only 56 seats. Be that as it may, I want to play out what Tejasvi Yadav said in the afternoon today, which really made me wonder whether he is in support of the exit polls or against them. But Jay, make your point.
Yeah. Kanchana ji, don't you think the RJD alliance is not pulling in more voters? I mean, it's stuck at 10 by, much like Mayawati was stuck at her vote base. That is the real problem of the Mahagathbandhan in Bihar.
आपने कैसे कह दिया कि we are stuck with the MY voters? क्योंकि जितने भी पलायन करके माइग्रेशन से वापस आए हुए हैं, everybody said that we are going to change the government. Everybody said that we are going to turn the pace. उसको तो इसमें सर्वे में नहीं दिखाया गया कि जो माइग्रेट करके वापस आए हुए हैं वो लोग किसको वोट किए हुए हैं। वही पुराने 2020 के फॉर्मूला को अगर दिखा दिया जाता है, इस पर सर्वे करके जो भी एग्जिट पोल दिखाया जा रहा है, तो इस पे कौन बिलीव करेगा। और खासकर बिहार के केस में सबसे ज्यादा एग्जिट पोल अगर कहीं गलत हुए हैं, ओपिनियन पोल सबसे ज्यादा गलत हुए हैं, तो इन द केस ऑफ बिहार 2010, 2015, 2020, अभी 2024 में भी हमने देखा था, ये सुसाइड होगा, ये सारे एग्जिट पोल सुसाइड होंगे।
ठीक है, देखिए आप कह रहे हैं कि भाई एक्सिस माई इंडिया ऐसा क्यों कर रहा है। बाय द वे, लेट मी शो you the numbers for from vote vibe as well. The caste wise vote share that they have put out pretty much mirrors the same thing as well. कंचना जी, कुछ तो ऐसे ट्रेंड्स होंगे ना कि हर किसी को वही दिखाई दे रहा है, वहां पे भी वो कह रहे हैं। बाय द वे, ये आप नहीं कहेंगे कि सारे सर्वेज ये दिखा रहे हैं कि आपका लॉयल वोटर जरा भी टस से मस नहीं हो रहा है। इतनी एड़ी चोटी का जोर लगा लिया, असदुद्दीन ओवैसी ने लगा लिया, प्रशांत किशोर ने लगा लिया। Muslims have actually come more towards your side than even earlier. You've got 74.5% of the Yadavs as well as 79. It is eerie that this is exactly the same thing that has been shown by Axis My India as well. So Amitabh Tiwari, there's clearly some trend over here which gives the message that loyal voters of both sides have hunkered down. There may be a little bit of movement here or there depending on which poll you are looking at, but at least this trend is quite clear, is it?
See, if you travel to Bihar and you have and when you ask voters, one thing which was very common is that जो जहां था वो वहीं है.
Absolutely.
जो जहां था वो उसी को वोट देगा. This was largely the clear trend, and that's what is visible across most polls. Now, the Mahagathbandhan definitely has made attempts to break into the EBC vote and the non-Yadav OBC, the general category vote as well. Unfortunately, the incident at Baka, I think, seems to have weakened or neutralized the efforts to woo the Bhumihar community, because it has put up significant number of Bhumihar community candidates as well. The Malla and the Pan Samaj votes they are getting. That's why we see their vote share increasing from 37 to 41%, 42% in our survey. However, the entry of LJP into the alliance of NDA seems to have solidified the SC vote bank in favor of the NDA. And it seems that the non-projection of Rajesh Ramji, who comes from the Ravidas community as Deputy CM, and the Ravidas community there is 5%. In fact, it is more than Paswan Samaj. We talk a lot about Paswan Samaj. They could have made a dent or an entry into that vote bank, and I think they missed a chance. Of course, polls can go wrong. These are not exact polls for exact results. We'll have to wait and see on the 14th. But I mean, let's hope for the best from our side.
Rajesh Ram, the state president of the Congress, they actually changed their president, but why did they not go that extra mile and project him as well? Jitin Ram Manjhi and Chirag Paswan pulling their weight in the NDA. Badrinayan ji, even Mukesh Sahni pulling his weight in the Mahagathbandhan. But guess which is the kamzor kadi? Then are we to assume that यहाँ पे एक बार फिर से कांग्रेस ही कमजोर कड़ी इस पूरे इलेक्शन की उभर करके आई है?
कांग्रेस का पद्मजा कारण ये है कि कांग्रेस का जो पहले एक वो था, जो कहते हैं जो सिंबॉलिक पावर था, दैट वाज फॉर द पार्टी ऑफ द फॉरवर्ड, और फॉरवर्ड इंप्रेशंस परसेप्शन कैन दे ट्रांसफर टू एनीवन वेयर दे अलाइन. बट नाउ द सिचुएशन चेंज बिकॉज बीजेपी अपीयर्ड एज द पार्टी ऑफ द फॉरवर्ड. तो एक तो कांग्रेस का ये लॉस है. दूसरा, कांग्रेस ने जो चमाज रविदास कम्युनिटी है, जो हरिजन कम्युनिटी है बिहार में, उसकी जगजीवन राम से ही वो ट्रेडिशन था. They lost that ground also. So Dalit में, if you see, the Bihar is the society of caste. No,
but they keep saying, look, we've changed our state president. Even our national president is Dalit. Rahul Gandhi keeps saying Samvidhan, and that's a
lot of focus on Dalits. But you know, this is very interesting. The entire Dalit mobilization, because it's a society of caste. So Dusad is the biggest Dalit community in Bihar. Musahar is the second largest community in Bihar. They are with the NDA alliance. So if you see the 60% versus 40%, yani NDA is the rainbow alliance of the 60%. How? See, 37% EBC,
Pachpania. No, but why are all of them with the NDA?
No, why? That's why I'm saying, if this vote percent is true, which is given by the axis, it's not the total percent. 60 mein they are getting 48%, not 43%, 45%. So escalation is there, erosion is there. But erosion is not एक जो कहते हैं ना, एक जो horizontal trend उस community का, that is towards NDA. So 37% is the Pachpania community, which is the smaller EBC community, scattered in every part of the Bihar. Then the 10%, 12% of Dalit, means the Bushars and the Dushads and the others, and then 10 to 12% forward caste. It forms 60%, around 60%. Rainbow.
Okay.
So, yeah, rainbow. So you have to count 60% for the 40%.
And despite the outreach, it hasn't really hit home, especially with the most backward.
And I tell you about Mallah, a story of Mallah, or Nonia. These two communities, the Tejaswi tried to win them.
So did Rahul Gandhi.
And Rahul Gandhi also.
And by the way, since you speak of Mallah, I think, yes, go on.
Just let me firstly dispel some notions. For a very long period of time, a certain Lutyens cabal has painted the BJP as a party of one or two castes out of its own convenience. Whereas the truth of the matter is that nobody
other than the BJP, has reached out to subalterns in a more proactive and more concrete way. We have a Prime Minister from the OBC community for the third consecutive term. We had Chief Ministers like Kalyan Singh, Babulal Gaur, Uma Bharti, and Prime Minister himself when he was Chief Minister at a time when these people did not even know the O of OBC. And they come and preach to us about OBC, point one. Point two, in Bihar we have a much wider social base. Point three, now start calling the party of RJD as a party of two vote banks. That's it. They don't cater to anybody else. And then they say katta lehrayenge, rangdari karenge. And fourthly, one factor, Mahila factor you have forgotten.
We are coming to it.
Mahila factor is the real factor that has stood with us right from 2005 onwards because people don't want Jungle Raj again.
You know, we'll come to the Mahila factor and everyone has spoken at length about it. We'll play out the data for that. Here's a fun fact. You know, a lot of times in the current hustle bustle of history, people either ignore or deliberately hide the facts of history. RJD, JDU, all these parties are offshoots of the Janata Dal, which literally came into being in opposition to Congress being a Brahminical party. It was Brahmin dominated, it was upper caste dominated. So Janata Dal literally came into being as opposition. Lalu Prasad Yadav, Nitish Kumar, they were all opposing the Congress because it was dominated by the upper caste. But well, here they are all together. Just a second. Now I want to show you the male versus female breakup of the Access My India numbers. Here is where 45% of the women are shown with the NDA, but the Mahagathbandhan is not too far behind. It's a 3% gap only. Amitabh Tiwari, I want you to reflect on this. And why we keep saying this is because here the margin is very, very close. 2% is the margin of error.
5% gap.
So it's
5%. Female 5%.
It's a 5% gap. Pardon me, it's a 5% gap. 2% is margin of error. These many votes coming to the Mahagathbandhan from women who are said to be sweeping towards the NDA. What do you make of these figures, Amitabh Tiwari? Is this really like, are both the alliances evenly placed among women?
No, if the both alliances were evenly placed amongst women, then it would have been a dead heat. It would have been a tie in terms of vote share. Because if you see across polls and even in vote vibe, if you see, the Mahagathbandhan has a slight edge amongst the males, correct? So, and that's largely because of unemployment being the biggest problem, and males, because the female participation rate in Bihar is lower, this problem is largely faced by men, you can say, or this is a #1 problem for men. So amongst men, the Mahagathbandhan has an edge, a slight edge, while amongst females, at vote vibe, we have almost 10% edge, largely because of the Mahila Rozgar Yojana, whereas amongst males, the Mahagathbandhan has an edge of 4%.
Yes, and that's the reason why we wanted to show the range across different polls as well. On your screen now is the breakup among Mahila and youth by vote vibe, and it is quite significant, as Amitabh Tiwari said. And why is there this gap? Because look at the issues that matter according to Amitabh Tiwari. The issues that have reflected are related to women. Crimes against women is one of the major issues as well. Issues related to development. Caste and communal tension also, by the way, directly relates to women, because whenever there is caste violence even, who are the worst sufferers? Women are the one who get caught in the crossfire. But quickly taking you through this data, unemployment overall 63.2% thought it was a very big issue, but a majority of them, I assume, would be men. Majority of them are also youth. For women, it wasn't that big a factor. Price rise was important for 10.3% of the voters. Caste and communal tension 4%. Crime against women 2.8%. Corruption, law and order 9.1%. But if you see consistently, the women here have got their issues mapped out. What really concerns them is quite clear. Unemployment, though, Shehzad Poonawala, is still showing up as a big concern.
Look, first of all, Padmaja, let me just reflect on the Mahila aspect. Right from 2005, when Nitish ji came to power with BJP, sending the girls to schools, ensuring that they get uniforms, cycles, Kanya Uthan Yojana, then the Jivika Didi Yojana, reservation for them in panchayatis, in police jobs, in teaching jobs, etc., empowering them, and then the parliament reservation, and now the 10,000 rupee scheme to start their business. It's been a journey of empowerment of women in a state where they were relegated to complete no position. Secondly, after that conference, now even on the unemployment or employment issue, by the way, India is having one of the lowest unemployment rates in the last 7-8 years. But having said that, even on the unemployment issue, who is the person that they see the bharosa in? It is not Tejaswi. Who is supporting Tejaswi? Please understand. If you go by the exit polls, it's between 18 to 29. These are people who not really tasted RJD that way. Those who've tasted RJD even once from 30 onwards, and those who are actually the people seeking the jobs, they are the ones who are saying that, boss, humko pata hai ye RJD kya karegi, land mangegi, and 2.76 crore
sarkari 18 to 29
ko pucho bolega ask Tejaswi.
18 to 29 are leaning towards the Mahagathbandhan, and that should worry you because they will also be around to elect in the next election.
Archana ji should first accept that she is going to take this part of the survey and then reject the rest of the survey.
Okay, very quickly, Tehseen Poonawala.
When we started off this evening and this Mahila debate came out and there was another panelist, she said no, the women would tend to vote as a group. While I do agree that women do sort of have an identity as a group, what this survey clearly shows me is the Yadav women and the Muslim women have gone ahead and voted with the RJD Congress more or less, as has been the male counterparts. What has happened, where there's been a slight swing across identity, has been in that young aspirational youth between 18 to 30. Now post 30 they've gone with the JDU and the BJP. It's the younger voters who stuck with the Mahagathbandhan and the Congress RJD. However, the weight percentage of those voters is much less, and because the rainbow coalition of the JDU BJP is much higher, they have got those numbers. It is as simple as that. The women as a group have not all voted for Nitish ji. The Yadav woman and the Muslim woman has still voted for the Congress.
But you know, the bigger message here also is, Kanchana Yadav and Tehseen, to both of you, that wherever there is a problem, unemployment is a problem. There are people who will say, अरे भर्ती नहीं हो रही है, अरे पर्चा लीक हो जा रहा है. जब नीतीश जी वापस आएंगे तो उनको ये ठीक करना चाहिए. There will also be people who will say that. Kanchana Yadav.
Padmaja ji, I disagree with one point of Amitabh Kant ji. He said that we didn't declare
Amitabh Tiwari.
The other one's in PM.
Amitabh Tiwari ji. He said we didn't declare the Deputy Chief Minister, Rajesh Ram ko Deputy Chief Minister हमने declare नहीं किया. That's why we didn't get the Ravidas voter. But क्या नीतीश जी को चीफ मिनिस्टर डिक्लेयर किया गया था? अगर नहीं किया गया था तो सेम सवाल होगा ना. तो क्या कुर्मी वोटर एनडीए की तरफ आया? वहां पे तो चीफ मिनिस्टर ही डिक्लेयर नहीं किया गया. तो फॉरगेट अबाउट द डिप्टी चीफ मिनिस्टर. तो ये जो लॉजिक है ना कि हमने मुसलमान को नहीं बनाया, हमने उनको नहीं बनाया, इसलिए हम.
कंचना जी, ये आप मानती है कि दर्द जो देता है उसी से दवा की उम्मीद लगा के बैठे हैं लोग? अगर जो दर्द है उन्हीं से दवा मांग रहे हैं?
नहीं, ये आप गलत बोल रही हैं. ये जो खासकर हम लोग तो ग्राउंड पर थे, हमने देखा था कि मोस्टली जो यूथ हैं, जो अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट की वजह से, वो हमेशा कहते थे वी आर गोइंग टू चेंज द गवर्नमेंट. हम गवर्नमेंट को बदलने जा रहे हैं. 20 साल में इस गवर्नमेंट ने
बदलाव का वोट पड़ेगा. बिफोर यू रिस्पॉन्ड
जी, पर मुझे ताना नहीं मार रही है, वो तहसीन को मार रही है. वो बोल रही है तेजस्वी इतना आगे थे फिर भी इतने देर से किया डिक्लेयर.
एक सेकंड,
तहसीन और कांग्रेस को बोल रही है वन जुबान में.
अमिताभ तिवारी,
आज भी आप कह सकते हैं क्या? आज भी ये कह सकते हैं?
हमने कर दिया कंचना जी, और आगे भी बनाएंगे. आप चेक कर लेना. पहले भी बना दिया, आगे भी बनाएंगे. आपकी जितनी भी आपकी मंशा है, परिवारवाद के प्रोडक्ट को नहीं बनने देंगे.
आप सेम चीज क्या प्राइम मिनिस्टर के लिए कह देंगे कि पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड तय करेगी या सांसद तय करेंगे? नो,
हम तो संविधान के पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड से ही चलते हैं. हम किचन में थोड़ी डिसाइड करेंगे.
ओके, यू नो,
किचन में नहीं डिसाइड होता.
We've heard this debate drawn out for a very long time. अब बस आपको 2 दिन का और इंतजार करना है, फिर पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड क्या डिसाइड करेगा वो पता ही चल जाएगा.
में किचन बोर्ड है, पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड है ही नहीं ना.